We're back here in the Dunbar neighborhood doing a back lane tour, and one of the aspects of doing that is that we have a chance to see different vintages of garages. In the earlier days, going back to the 20s and 30s, not as many people owned cars and there weren't as many garages, but now, as time has gone on, more and more garages have appeared. So this is a very interesting garage, because if you look to this side here, you'll see that there's an original small garage with a peaked roof, but the outline of the original roof is still there. And then later an addition was put on. And this is one of the really very unusual old 4-section cantilevered doors that slides like this and disappears down the side of the garage. Whereas this is probably just a straight overhead door that just lifts up like this. So at some point, the people got a chance to own a car, and this is probably very old. It might go with the age of the house. And you look at the construction and so on, and the type of wood that's used, and then later, as they had another car, well, another garage appeared. Sometimes the cars got too big for the garages, and they had to make little additions to pop out, and this may have been another example where they had a larger car. And so neither of them appear to be in use, so they may just be storage, but this is one of the best examples to show the original outline and roof of the first garage with its second addition, and a couple of vent holes drilled in at the peak of this. As we go along here, you're going to notice that some of the lanes that we travel on are paved and some are not. And one of the advantages of having an unpaved back lane is that the condition of the road acts sort of as traffic calming. So vehicles have to slow down a bit. You'll notice here and there that there are clotheslines with clothes on them, still in use in the neighborhood. And the other thing about some of these back lanes is that, particularly the unpaved ones, they meander. Like there'll be a big tree, there'll be something in the way, and then the traffic will sort of go around it. And as time goes on, the back lane changes its alignment just a little bit. So we're proceeding now in the back lane between 22nd and 23rd Avenue, and we're approaching Highbury, where there's been a resident boat in the back lane there for many years. And you can see how bumpy it is here. So we're crossing Highbury. The house on the corner is about to be demolished, as you can see by the orange webbing there. And again, here's the the roadway that's just not quite straight, and the garages have different ages. They go back over to the 20s, very few in the teens, and so there's hedges here and there. There's gardens, sometimes a basketball hoop, and garbage day is always a busy day when they come and pick up all the garbage bins in both directions. And I often see people walking down the back lane. They tend to do that often rather than the street. There's more to see in the back gardens and so on. So we're now coming up to Wallace, and you can see how this hedge is sort of crept out and the roadway's a little blocked. So we're now heading north on Wallace, and we're crossing 22nd Avenue. And and we'll continue all the way down to 20th Avenue. So it's springtime and trees have not started to come into leaf yet, but we've got a fine day. So we're crossing 20th. So you'll see back lane houses. Lots of back lane houses have been showing up in the neighborhood of all different styles. This one's quite modern and plain looking. And now we're on a paved back lane. And a little bit smoother than where we've been going. And so we can speed up just a bit there. And you'll see clothesline poles here and there. You'll see sometimes sheds. Here's another back lane house. It's actually has a little bit of character to it. And another clothesline with some clothes on it. A good day for drying your laundry. So we're crossing Crown, and now we're going to bump over and go down another unpaved back lane. And we bounce around a little bit here again. And straight ahead of us is Pacific Spirit Park. And as you can see, this gets a bit hilly right here. But we'll continue on down. And again, it's like a little grass growing up the middle, and more back lane houses here. Now on the walking part of the tour, when we get a little bit further up ahead here on the left by this hydro pole up here, on foot there's a trail that connects through to 21st and 22nd Avenues. And it's off to the left there. But we're going to continue on ahead and take a quick peek at the Camosun Bog. So this is a branch to the walk that you can take. So now we've left this back lane and we're turning here to the entrance to the Camosun Bog. So this is well worth a visit. You can actually walk through this way to continue your walk and come out to another back lane. But this is the entrance to the bog, and as you can see, it's spring. There's very few leaves coming out on the trees just yet. So there's various plaques and details about plants and indigenous peoples and their history. And there's a little, even the occasional waterfowl will actually show up here. And this has been a very good year because the water level in the pond is much higher than it has been in past years.
Lots of salad.
Yeah. So there's an unusual arrangement when we get to the bottom of this lane. As we continue on, you'll see that there's some houses, and they have a lane on both sides. So we're going to continue straight ahead, and you'll see the lane makes a jog as it runs into Pacific Spirit Park. So we'll follow the lane around to the left. And then we'll turn left again at the street here. This is technically a dead-end street. But actually there are ways out through the back lane. So we just go down another couple of houses here, and we turn left, and there's another lane right here to the left, right here. So this is an unusual arrangement where there's just a few houses, and some new houses have been added into the area here. So we'll continue on. Okay. So we're heading south on Crown Street now. And we continue on through here to the lane just before 24th Avenue. So they've put a new sidewalk and railing in along at Pacific Spirit Park on the right here. And there's some speed humps as well. Nice old Spanish style house there, and back lane houses. And after a nice smooth ride, we're turning left in this back lane and back onto an unpaved back lane. This back lane might have been paved at one time, but it's sort of reverted back to unpaved. So when is a garage no longer a garage? Well, in this case, I would say that the ivy that's covering this garage, which may be used for storage now, renders it not functional as a garage anymore, but it's a beautiful addition to this back lane. All the way along here, it's just a little oasis of green, and the ivy has spilled down the side of the garage and into the back lane. So if you have a look here, you can see that the garden is a real plus here inside. straight through. So we're crossing Wallace again, and there's even some grass growing up the middle of this back lane here. Again, notice how some of the trees and other things are hanging over the lane itself, and just adds a nice sort of bucolic touch to this area. And there had been moves afoot to pave all the back lanes in the 1970s and 80s, but when they realized that the runoff from all the rain and so on goes into the storm sewers, they took another look and realized that with an unpaved back lane, a lot of the rainwater just percolates into the soil. So that's another advantage to an unpaved back lane, besides traffic calming and so on. They do come by every so often and add a little more gravel to the potholes. But so straight through. Now we're back on a paved lane. So some of these hydro poles that you see here are new, but a lot of them date back to very early days, including some of the transformers. A wood hydro pole can last as long as 100 years. There's an automatic door on that garage there. Looks rather industrial. And then a back lane house next to it, which looks a little more like a cottage. And then we drop down here, and it gets quite steep just at the end here, and we go left. At these junctions, the people put in bollards and things to try and protect their garages from the trucks and other vehicles that come down here. And as we proceed down the back lane towards 23rd Avenue, we're now looking ahead at the point where we started our tour in one more block. So that ends our back lane tour. History, because when it was built, there was a curb cut here for the driveway. This tree was young, and as time has gone on, the sidewalk has sunk down. The original concrete approach to the garage has more or less stayed in place, and the garage matches the house. It is the same style, evidently not been used for many, many years, and so it's probably just used for storage, but it's an interesting small structure, very early, because there were not many garages built in the 1920s at the same time as the house was built. So this is an early example of an original garage in the neighborhood, and it's a real gem. As you walk through the back lanes of Dunbar, you never know what you're going to come across. You could find, oh, these elaborate gates, or, oh, now what happened here? Now, how could a hydro pole end up in that place? Didn't the designers, the architect, or the planners place this back lane house before they realized there was a hydro pole there? And I don't think hydro is moving the pole. It looks a bit too new. And then we have garages that sort of have lean-to attached to them, and such a variety. You never know what you're going to come across when you go through the back lanes. So it's well worth exploring our neighborhoods by walking the back lanes rather than down the streets. And you never know what you're going to come across, even a lady taking a bath out on the boulevard.